Sony pays for blocking the rights for developers to not put their games onto Xbox Game Pass. All right, guys, before we get into this, I see that over 50% of you are not subscribed. If you enjoy this content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. So the Sony versus Microsoft, the PlayStation versus Xbox saga over the Activision Blizzard deal continues to unfold. And this really all started when they spoke and they answered questions to the Brazilian Trade Commission, asking them what they thought about the Activision Blizzard acquisition. They asked multiple third-party studios, and most of them had really no complaints about it, had no issues with it being anti-competitive. But we know Sony had some things to say, thinking that it was really going to hinder their business with the fact that they've called Call of Duty its own genre and that nobody's going to be able to make a competing game with Call of Duty just because of how big it is and all of this type of stuff. And then Xbox came back and called what they had said pretty much nonsense, talking about the fact that Sony has done exclusivity for a very long time. They have had exclusive deals with games coming over to PlayStation, exclusive deals with Call of Duty, putting specific Call of Duty content only on PlayStation. And obviously, it's pretty clear that the reason why Sony is so afraid of this deal going through is because they know it is going to really cut in to their bottom line. This is something I showed off in my other video talking about this. Make sure to go check it out. It is in the description below. But the biggest reason why Sony doesn't want this to go through is because the majority of their game sales, the majority of the revenue they make is from third-party content. You just take a quick look at this image here, and over 80% of their sales are from third-party content, with only 14% in the fiscal year 2021 from their first-party game. So Call of Duty is a massive game on that platform. People spending money within the PlayStation Network, people buying DLC, people buying more COD points, everything that gets bought through the PlayStation Network for Call of Duty, PlayStation gets a part of that, and they're afraid that they are going to lose some of that money if people leave PlayStation and go over to Xbox to play it, for the simple fact that you're going to be able to play these games on Xbox Game Pass without after having to actually pay full price for them. You sign up for the service, not only are you getting access to Call of Duty, but when people who see the other games that are within that service, they're probably going to want to stay subscribed to Xbox Game Pass for the foreseeable future. But it gets even worse. So this was in some more stuff that was found out in those documents sent to the Brazilian regulators, and it is Microsoft talking about Xbox Game Pass and Sony's action to blocking games from coming over to Xbox Game Pass, as well as their incoherence with Call of Duty. So here's what they say. Microsoft's ability to continue expanding Game Pass has been obstructed by Sony's desire to inhibit such growth. Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Game Pass and other competing subscription services. So right there, in clear written language, clear English, we can see that it is true. PlayStation pays developers money not to put their games on to Xbox Game Pass, and we don't know the extent to what this means. Maybe Microsoft has tried to get tons of other big third-party games into the service, and they haven't been able to because Sony has been paying these developers not to put it on there. And I mean, if you're a developer, you're going to get literally free cash to not put your game onto another service, but still able to release it on that platform. Why wouldn't you take that money? And that's clearly what is happening based off of what Microsoft is saying. And you think about some of the deals that have happened, like with the main one I always come back to is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Why that game hasn't come over to Xbox yet after all of these years, even after seemingly the exclusivity of that game has ended, it still hasn't shown up on Xbox Game Pass. And there must be just a massive bag that Sony has paid to Square Enix to make sure the game just doesn't reach the platform anytime soon, or maybe just never reach the platform. And I would argue that no matter what, the exclusivity of things, when companies pay developers for exclusivity, it is bad for the consumer. It is bad for the gamer. I understand why it has to happen within the business sense, because these companies need to compete and they need to be able to always try to improve and get ahead of their competitors. So that's why they do these types of deals. Xbox does it too, but there's a big difference from what Sony's doing here, which is paying these developers just not to put the game onto subscription services because they know it's going to cut in to their own revenues and to their own consumer base, because people will see these games on Xbox Game Pass is a much better value than paying full price for it on PlayStation 5. When you compare that to things like Xbox paying a third-party developer to put their game onto Xbox Game Pass, even if it is exclusive to the ecosystem. The big difference there is that Xbox ecosystem is way more accessible to way more people, to way more gamers to be able to access these games. So they are essentially taking a game that potentially could have been exclusive to the PlayStation 5 console only, where you have a limited amount of players that are going to actually be able to play and experience that game, and getting it over to an ecosystem where it has access to just way more people no matter where they're playing it, even if it's with Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Cloud Gaming, via their phone or via a web browser. There's just so many more options for players to have when it comes over to Xbox Game Pass. So when I make the argument that exclusivity for the consumer in general, what do we gain from it? Nothing, just because at the end of the day, what do consumers gain from other people not being able to play games? Really nothing at all. But if there is exclusivity, it is better on Xbox because of that ecosystem where more people get to access it. So that's some pretty interesting information that we have found out here, and I'm just very interested in the extent of how far this actually goes, of how many games Sony has paid in order to be blocking the rights to prevent the developers from adding them to Xbox Game Pass. Now, when it comes to Call of Duty itself, they continue to talk about this, and Microsoft calls Sony's concern about the possibility of Call of Duty becoming an Xbox exclusive title incoherent, saying, quote, "It only reveals once again a fear about an innovative business model that offers high quality content at low cost to gamers, threatening a leadership that has been forged from a device-centric and exclusivity-focused strategy over the years." And you know what? This is kind of, I feel like this is something that's coming out of my mouth. I've said this many times in my videos in the past, not trying to pump my own tires or anything like that, but that is the issue here. That is what is going on right now within the video game industry. You see Sony, you see them sticking their feet in the sand right now because they know that the old ways of the video game industry are completely changing, which is the device-centric, exclusivity-focused strategy, which is locking games to a console to get people out there to buy their console. PlayStation knows this is going away, but they are trying to suck as much life as possible out of it before it really is 100% a losing business model, and it will be. The exclusivity thing, locking games to a console, will not be a winning strategy in the near future. We're already really seeing that, especially with the financial reports that come out every fiscal year. I think you're going to see that continue to tell the story as to where the gaming industry is going, that even when there is a lull in revenues, even when there is a downturn in the amount of money people are spending within the gaming industry, things like the subscription model, things like Game Pass really help offset that. And it gives continuous revenue for these companies over long periods of time when you have millions and millions of people paying into it every single month. It is the winning strategy going forward for video games, and Xbox Game Pass is the leader right now. Sony sees that, and they are really terrified as to what is going on. People are talking about this is just posturing between the businesses. This is just what happens when big deals go through. But the question you have to ask yourself, why is it only that Sony, the biggest console competitor to Xbox, the one that complained about this deal, the one that complained about Call of Duty and all of these other third-party publishers who know, hey, we can put our games onto Game Pass, we can put our games into other subscription services whenever they pop up, we'll make a ton of money from these companies paying us to do it. We don't care. As long as there is a lot of users within a certain subscription model, we put our game there and millions of people will be able to play it and experience it, which will get more playtime for our games and potentially get more people to be spending more money on microtransactions or DLC or anything like that within the games that are added to the service. But that's it for me, guys. What are your thoughts on PlayStation paying to block the rights to put games onto subscription services, particularly Xbox Game Pass? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here and you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.